Toxic couples. They're bad. No one likes them. But have you ever been watching a TV show or series and realize over time that a beloved couple that is supposedly really cute and perfect together are secretly really toxic?
I could see that as a very real possibility.
They're designed by the show to end up together. But in the view of retrospect, watching these shows years later, you begin to see that these relationships were not as good as you remember.
Topanga, I used to be able to do a lot of things before I married you. Congratulations! You've killed my spirit!
I mean, hey, red flags look fine when you're wearing rose-colored lenses. It would also be incredibly toxic if you didn't subscribe right now. So just do that to be safe. Thanks. But today, I want to talk about a few couples that have the most secretly toxic relationship in television. I'll start off with an easy one. Jim and Pam in The Office. Now, if you look at it in a wider perspective, compared to other crazy relationships in that show, they're not really that bad. But when you break it down, you begin to see a lot of issues. Jim and Pam met at the Dunder Mifflin Paper Company, where they caught each other's eyes working across a room, and quickly struck up a friendship that was unbreakable, until he fell in love with her and decided to confess his feelings while she was already engaged. Now, I'm not saying her and Roy's relationship was great, because that was also very toxic, just more in an obvious way. But this confession made Jim leave for a while and her break it off with Roy and decide to grow as an individual, which is great. Good for them. But eventually, when they come back and get through a few more relationships, they decide to finally get together. And it's beautiful.
We're dating.
Wow. For almost the entire run of the show, they're the prime example of a good relationship. But just like any long-running series, you have to add drama somewhere. So the writers decided the best way to do that was for Jim to finally follow his dreams, and Pam harshly hold him back, so much so that it seems like it's all her fault that Jim was stuck in his job for all those years and never followed it until this moment, when he already had a family and established life in Scranton. That's right, I'm not just a Pam hater.
Wow, what an idiot.
You are toxic. You are toxic.
Now, they're by no means the worst couple on this list, and they only have a few small things, which is why I'm talking about them first. But a lot of people have mentioned little things like Pam holding back her partner, where looking at Roy after they break up, he progresses way further in life, making more money, learning the piano for his fiance, becoming a better person. And then looking at the same situation with Jim in Athlete, when he wants to go and be Philly Jim, the Jim she said she wants to see a few seasons earlier, now she wants no part of it. There's also the point where Jim goes behind her back and buys a house for them without her opinion, which could be viewed as, romantic or toxic. Originally, I would say I was more leaning into toxic behavior, but man, if someone buys me a house in this economy, I'm yours.
That's what she said.
But with those being the prime examples, I think they're an okay representation of a real relationship, because you do have arguments, but eventually you work through it, make up, sacrifice for each other, and that's the best case scenario. However, there is a way for that cycle of getting through it together as a couple because you're meant to be can go very sour, like our next example. Topanga and Cory. This one hurt. I used to love Boy Meets World, and I still do in some ways, but rewatching it as an adult makes me question every decision made in Topanga and Cory's relationship. The biggest question being, why are you still together? Topanga and Cory were written as soulmates that can get through anything. And thanks to Cory, he puts her through almost everything. The best way to describe them is that one toxic high school couple who only call each other babe and stay on FaceTime all night no matter if they're sleeping or awake. It's just a little much. But the red flags don't stop with her sacrifices for him, like not going to Yale to follow her dreams and getting married right out of high school. But the borderline abusive way he talks and treats her is absolutely insane.
I know you said it because I heard it. I heard it from your big mouth.
Well, that's not how you communicate. Chill out, dude. But the worst part about all that is no matter what he says to her, constantly feeling like he has to humble her and always talking down to her throughout their entire friendship and relationship, she always forgives him. I've seen the argument made that Topanga was just written for the male gaze, which I can see being a possibility, given she's this beautiful, smart, and successful person that is dating way below her league. And I don't just mean in looks, I mean in personality. Cory had to be her biggest hater, for real.
Cory, I'm beginning to think this wedding is just a prelude to sex for you.
That's brilliant, Sherlock.
But like I mentioned, this is one of the most toxic couples, given that he literally cheats on her and then lies to her about it. I swear, if Cory wasn't the protagonist of this show, that would be the end of their relationship and they would not get back together and live this long, happy, beautiful life they eventually have. I guess. Who needs enemies when you got a husband like this?
Well, if I would have known we were just gonna do that, I would have bought the flannel pajamas with the feet! Instead of the silk pajamas and the silk blanket and these silk sheets!
And yes, I do understand it's a sitcom. A lot of his stuff is played for laughs. His quirky nature isn't supposed to be taken seriously. They have a great foundation of friendship before they got into a relationship, which I think is great. That makes them a good example of a couple. And yes, every couple fights. The best get through it and are better for it, but when you look at the consistent track record of how he treats Topanga in their fights, it outweighs however many years they had growing up friends, and the good moments don't matter when the bad are so severe. It's not an equal exchange, nor should it be. Alright, I'm done. I'm happy I got that off my chest. Let me know in the comments how you guys feel, that if the good outweighs the bad, or if they really did have a toxic relationship. Oh god, now we're in the Snyderverse. And I don't mean Zach, I mean Dan.
You say nice things about me? Because I will tase her if necessary.
Sometimes I wonder if you can get juice from a potato.
Hey yo, what the?
Beck and Jade are probably the most obviously toxic couple on this list. It's easy to blame their constant arguments, fights, and breakups as the reason for their toxicity, but I think it might go deeper than that. Jade is insecure and a deeper character than she lets on, but her jealousy and insecurity comes out in the form of anger and confrontation. But even that right there is enough to blame the whole toxicity on Jade. You also see on Beck's perspective that he's not really empathetic to anything she's going through. He merely just brushes it off and forgets about it, which I don't blame him. He's probably tired and drained of constantly having to police her actions around other people. Meanwhile, avoiding every single female who has a possibility of flirting with him.
Because you and I date, I can't be friends with other girls.
You can be friends with ugly girls.
However, on top of him not being too empathetic to her and her being super aggressive and toxic towards him, he does really pour it on, like in this one episode where he's watching a dog for a 9-year-old cheerleader, but she only knows it's a cheerleader. Not that she's literally in 3rd grade, but you know, given if he did tell her she was 9, she probably wouldn't have believed him anyway, so fair game.
I'm not happy with our relationship.
Also, the breakup would have been beneficial if they actually wanted to spend time to grow these characters apart. Instead, in the middle of Beck beginning to develop on his own, he's guilted and convinced to just get back with Jade because she's spiraling and it's easy for him.
I'm glad Jade and I broke up.
Why?
Because I can't remember the last time she did one nice thing for me.
They could have had a good example of growing and becoming less toxic over time and then becoming a real good couple. You know, they don't have to break up for the whole show. They can actually come back together. But we see that never happens.
If we're gonna keep talking about Tori's phone, could someone please take me to a car door so I can slam my face in it?
I have a car.
Also, despite all of Jade's flaws, I do have to mention, Beck wanted to kiss Tori and get together with her way too soon after the breakup with Jade. And not to mention the first time he met this girl, he gave her a really good stage kiss. And listen, I've done a stage kiss before. It's weird. You walk in, do it, and you get out. You don't try to like find gum in the other person's mouth with your tongue. And that's what they were doing. Not to mention whatever was going on in this scene.
Come on, let's just go. It'll be fun.
No,
Why not?
because I didn't shower this morning and I had tuna fish for lunch and
Before we get to the last couple, we gotta mention some low-hanging fruit like Cam and Mitch in Modern Family, who have a lot of issues people think are really toxic. And there are moments that are like too much, but their problems actually complement each other in their relationship, and it works really well in my opinion, and I like them together. And of course, you can't talk about couples who are toxic in TV without mentioning Ross and Rachel in Friends.
I love L-O-V-E love.
And even though they were the endgame relationship and eventually they worked together, they had a long time to grow separately and be themselves for like 5 or 6 seasons before getting back together and becoming the loving couple they could be. Now, do I think Ross is probably going to say something stupid and get insanely jealous again after season 10 ended and something's going to happen? Probably, but we don't see that, so it didn't happen, right?
Fine by me!
But finally, it's time to mention the most toxic couple I've ever seen. And this one, we're moving from TV to movie. Troy and Gabriella. If you watch these movies as an adult, you will love it, first off, obviously, because it's iconic. But then you'll start to see how their relationship wasn't really that good. Honestly, looking back, it seems like Sharpay would have been a better partner for Troy and his future. Just like at High School Musical 2, where Troy gets the opportunity to use his basketball skills, something he spent hours and years of his life on, to finally get a scholarship, go to college for free, probably be professional. Every NBA team needs a 5'6" white guy. But because of this, his friends, and especially Gabrielle, despise him.
Blowing off your friends, missing dates. If that's you, it's good to know.
No. I was only doing that because I'm working on the scholarship thing. You know that.
It's now his fault and his problem that he's working towards his future. And the real problem with this is that it doesn't just end with that problem getting resolved. In High School Musical 3, a similar thing happens where Gabrielle can go to her summer program for her college early, and he supports her. It's completely opposite of what she did. He tells her, go ahead. Now he doesn't realize that she'll leave and miss the musical, which I guess is a big deal. So he literally travels to her college to visit her and get her back. Here he is again, doing all the work after she runs away dramatically. It seems like their entire relationship was one-sided, especially with Troy deciding that he's going to go to a whole different college than he wanted to.
But most of all, I choose the person who inspires my heart. Which is why I picked a school that's exactly 32.7 miles from you.
That's weird.
Brother, I promise you there's no way they stay together in college. Sorry to tell you this way, sports fans, but we're not all in this together. So let me know what you think. Do you agree? Disagree? Put your thoughts down below if there are any other beloved couples that are secretly toxic. Thank you to everyone who subscribed recently. If you're not done your meal yet or you're in the shower, feel free to put on another one of my videos. I have a bunch you can watch. Thank you so much. I hope you subscribed if you haven't already. And as always, thanks for watching.